What's going on, everyone? The Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant experiment seems to be coming to an end. Kevin Durant earlier today requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets, and it looked like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant would be splitting up. It is being reported that Kyrie Irving is doing everything he can to be traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, which makes a ton of sense. They needed him to opt in order to go to the Lakers because they couldn't do a sign and trade. So very likely a trade in the coming days will develop around Kyrie Irving going to the Los Angeles Lakers. And they really don't have a choice because Kyrie Irving, he is a guy that will sit out, right? He's a guy that will not play games as is shown in the past, right? I mean, even last year, he lost $17 million and a shoe deal on his principles. So Brooklyn might as well get whatever they can for Kyrie Irving. No other teams are really going to trade for Kyrie. So Kyrie is all but certain to go to the Lakers. The question is, does Kevin Durant want to go with Kyrie Irving? The whole point and reason they went to the Brooklyn Nets was to play together. And I made a video the other day about this very proposal. And now it is being reported that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving could both be headed to the Los Angeles Lakers. It makes a ton of sense. They want to play together. They want to win a championship together. And that was the whole thing. LeBron James with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving would be a perfect fit. I don't think there's a better fit in the NBA. LeBron, he gets to be the distributor, the ball handler, things along those lines. They just signed Damon Jones, who can play the center. So now you got a center who can space the floor, who can block shots. You got LeBron, you got Kyrie, you have Kevin Durant. I mean, you have more than enough scoring, more than enough of a threat for the Lakers, and then you just got to put the pieces around them. Very likely, Brooklyn would have to include something else, like a Joe Harris, so you probably get a shooter in that trade as well, just because you have to make the salaries match. And Anthony Davis and Westbrook make more than Kyrie and Kevin Durant, so you're probably looking at something along those lines. The Lakers very likely would give up like a THT and the two first round draft picks. And then Kyrie and Kevin Durant would go to the Lakers. I think that is very possible. Now, I'm not saying undoubtedly that it's going to happen, that Kevin Durant, one, would he want to go play with LeBron? They've always been kind of compared the whole year. Which one is the better player? Which one is the better star? That kind of thing. But he did go to the Golden State Warriors, and he does want to play with Kyrie. And Kyrie and Kevin Durant, they operate very differently than many other players in the NBA. LeBron, he is a very unselfish player. He would be more than happy. He wouldn't care about playing with Kevin Durant. He wouldn't mind playing with Kyrie Irving. I mean, he was trying to get Kyrie Irving. He won a championship with Kyrie Irving. If you have these three, you're winning a championship. As long as everyone's healthy, who's beating these guys in a 7-game series? I mean, this would be ridiculous. You're talking about 2-3 championships. And from a LeBron perspective, this might be the best opportunity for you to go chase Michael Jordan as far as rings, right? Because the big argument is, well, Jordan has 6 rings. Well, if LeBron can win another 2 or 3 rings with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, guess what? He's chasing Jordan, and then what's the argument there? So LeBron cares about his legacy. He cares about what the perception is and being the greatest ever. Kevin Durant, he doesn't really care about that as much. So I could see him going to a team. He doesn't care about the backlash. Laker fans, there's more Laker fans than anything. You think the Lakers aren't going to embrace Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, especially for winning championships? Of course they will. Kevin Durant will get more love than he's ever gotten in his career if he went to the Lakers. And that's somebody that cares about that type of thing. So the big turnaround would be you'd have Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis going out for the Lakers for Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Again, the Lakers likely give up the 2 draft picks and THT. Now, you may be thinking the Brooklyn Nets, wouldn't they want to rebuild, right? You could probably get a great young package for Kevin Durant. You're not going to get anything for Kyrie Irving, but you could probably get some real pieces for Kevin Durant. The problem is Brooklyn doesn't have much say. Again, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, they're the type of players, they'll just sit out. Like, pay me. I won't go play there. I'll go sit and play. I'll sit somewhere else, Now, that doesn't mean that Kevin Durant, if he went to a Phoenix Suns team, but what package are they giving up? If teams know that Kevin Durant wants to go to the Lakers to play with Kyrie Irving, that changes everything. Teams aren't going to gut their roster and give up all these young assets to go get a Kevin Durant if they fear Kevin Durant might not play. Or if he's unhappy at any moment, just gives up and now he wants a trade and now it's a big mess. Get what I'm saying? It creates such a big disaster. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant have all the power with the Nets organization. And the Nets just seem like they're willing to just move and just be done with this. And you still get an Anthony Davis, right? He is a piece that you could use to trade and get assets. I mean, you could probably trade him to like the Chicago Bulls or something like that. Russell Westbrook gives you a ton of financial flexibility. You could trade Ben Simmons, or you could run it with these three and see how it works, and then just let Westbrook's money fall off the books. And you're good. You have Anthony Davis, you build around Anthony Davis. If you want to rebuild, you trade Ben Simmons and Anthony Davis, and you probably get some assets. You could trade Anthony Davis, like I said, back to Chicago. Maybe, the Suns would take Anthony Davis. Maybe you could do a 3-team swap. Kevin Durant wants to go to the Lakers, right? So what if Anthony Davis goes to the Suns? And then you get the package that you'd get for Kevin Durant. Maybe you get a Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton, and now you have that thing. There are so many options that the Brooklyn Nets have, but they can't be choosy. If Kyrie and Kevin Durant, they want to go to the Lakers, then very likely they're going to the Lakers. It just comes down to, what does Kevin Durant want? Does Kevin Durant want to go and have another opportunity to go win a championship, play in the spotlight that is the Lakers, go play with LeBron James? Can he get past the idea of like, oh, if I go, I'm playing with LeBron, the guy that I've been competing with my entire career, the guy that everyone compares me to? That's the biggest thing that I see would be an obstacle for Kevin Durant. But if anyone could get him to come, it'd be Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant never wanted to go to Brooklyn. He wanted to go to New York and various other places. The Celtics were another team that he really wanted to go to, but Kyrie was like, let's go to Brooklyn. If Kyrie buys in, Kevin Durant could also be looking at it as like, if we go to the Lakers, Kyrie's going to buy in. I also have LeBron to keep Kyrie in check, so I don't have to be the bad guy. LeBron understands him and has won a championship together with him and Kyrie and then Kevin Love. The three of us could win 2 or 3 championships. So that's just going to, accelerate my career. Like, I just think it's a huge win for primarily the Lakers. And Brooklyn's going to make out of this one way or another. Whether it's, a 3-team deal, or they keep, Anthony Davis and build around him, or they trade him, like I said, to Chicago. Like, what if you could get a Levine and, Vucevic and, maybe a Patrick Williams? Like, you get something like that, maybe a draft pick or something, and then there you go. Or the Phoenix Suns says, hey, we need a center because we're getting rid of Ayton. We'll give you Ayton, Bridges, or Ayton and Cam Johnson and, 2 firsts. There you go. Now you got your wing, you got your center, and, you got Ben Simmons to kind of build around. There's opportunity there. Now, I don't know for sure if this happens, but I don't rule it out at all. Especially Kyrie Irving. At the worst case scenario, Kyrie Irving's going to Lakers, hands down. I mean, I think that happens within the coming days. It's just, will Kevin Durant go with him? How bad does Kevin Durant want to play with Kyrie? I just think that Brooklyn wants to move off of him, and I think that they want to move off of Brooklyn. So the Lakers may be the only destination that could do that. Many teams won't take on Kyrie if it means giving Kevin Durant. Not just that, most teams, they can't do that without gutting the roster. The Lakers are one of the only teams, if not the only team, that are in this rare position to where they have guys that can match, that you can trade, and Brooklyn still gets some stars out of it, so they're not losing anything entirely, and they can absorb the contracts to take on these guys and still be competitive and still have a team, because you got LeBron James, and this team with LeBron's health and stuff really puts them in a great position. I just think that this is something that is very likely to develop. Like, I wouldn't be shocked at all if in the next couple days we hear or see something along the lines of like, oh, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not saying it'll happen for sure, but it's something to definitely look out for. Seriously. Always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think ends up happening? Do you think just Kyrie ends up getting traded to the Lakers? Do you think that both Kyrie and Kevin Durant get traded to the Lakers? What type of trade do you think will be in the mix? Do you think it'll just be a swap, Kyrie, KD for Anthony Davis and Westbrook? Obviously some interchangeable parts will be put into that, but ultimately that would be the package. Or do you think that, no, there will be like a 3-team deal, like with Chicago. Chicago gives up Levine and Vucevic and maybe Patrick Williams, and then they get Anthony Davis. The Brooklyn Nets, they take on everyone else and maybe try to move Westbrook to a 4th team, something along those lines. Do you think that it will get that complicated, or do you think that Brooklyn will just look at it as like, let's cut our losses, let's move on, let's get these assets, let's get these things. We can always trade later on down the line. Worst case scenario, we have Ben Simmons and Anthony Davis to kind of build around. Westbrook's money falls off the books. There's still a lot of questions with Ben Simmons, like, is he going to play? What's going to happen? you could always trade Ben Simmons too. Like, let's say you think Westbrook and Anthony Davis are good enough in the East to be competitive, and you still have Seth Curry, you have Andre Drummond, you have guys, so Davis can play the 4, and maybe you're running a starting 5 of maybe you re-sign Patty Mills, and you got starting 5 of Westbrook, Mills, Seth, Drummond and Anthony Davis, and maybe that's competitive enough, and Brooklyn kind of just ride this year out, see how that goes, and then make a decision later for the future. I think that is a huge possibility as well. Again, not saying this happens for sure, but I think it's definitely something to look out for, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. I wouldn't be surprised, even as you're watching this video, I wouldn't be surprised if we get an alert notification that's like, Lakers trade for Kyrie and KD. It just comes down to, what does KD want? Does KD want to go to the Lakers with Kyrie, or does he not? Does he want to play with Kyrie or not? Or does he want to just move on, like, hey, I tried, it didn't work, let's go elsewhere? I could see that happening. But again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.